everybody, it's Joan, and today I am not gonna, well, I'm kind of gonna be talking about romance, but I'm mostly gonna be talking about non-romance in my books, if that makes sense. I don't know. I planned on doing this video last year. I filmed it and I never got around to editing it, but for the most part, it was like all over the place. So I'm just gonna refilm this video. We're gonna talk about why I personally don't write a ton of romance and I don't put that into my books. And yeah, it's like a big part of my books is that there's not romance in them, I feel like, and that's apparently not a normal thing. So we're just gonna talk about it. Meredith Phillips put up a video today about why romance is like a totally valid genre and why she writes romance, and it was a great video. I'm going to link it in the description. Even though our videos are like the complete opposite of each other, I'm still gonna link it. It's a great video, go watch it. And I have to like agree with everything she says. Romance is a valid genre. Writing romance, reading romance, it's all super valid. And everyone has their own different genres that they like to read and that they like to write. Everything, it's all valid. Whatever you like to read, whatever you like to write is valid. So, with that being said, it is also completely valid to not write romance at all in your books. Not even just like as a subplot. It's not there as a subplot. No, it is not a necessity for every single book. Why? Because it doesn't happen in every single person's life. It just doesn't. And yeah, that kind of sounds like super like morbid, but it's the truth. And as a young adult contemporary author, I feel compelled to write the truth as the best as I can. And you know what? Not every teen is in a relationship. Not every teen is thinking about relationships their entire high school career, or college for that matter, or whatever grade they're in. Like, hi, I'm 23. I've never been in a relationship, and that's okay. I'm gonna try to make this video not rambly because I want it to have somewhat of a structure. So we're gonna jump back in time a little bit to, when I started reading books growing up. And I have a lot of the books that I read growing up on my bookshelf, so we might take a trip over there to kind of, look at what I read growing up and how that's influenced what I now currently write. All right, welcome to my bookshelf. These are all the books that I own that I have read. My TBR bookshelf is in my other room, but these are all the books that I own that I have read. And we're just gonna kind of, go through what I read as a kid, I guess, and kind of see whether or not they're romancy, because I don't remember if a lot of like middle grade or like the young adult books even that I read had romance in them. And I think that kind of really influenced why I don't write romance into my books. I used to. All of my books used to have romance in them, and we'll get to that in a second. But for the most part, I just want to kind of look at this and be like, all right, what did I read as a kid and what do I want to put out there for new teens and new adults to read? A lot of these books were like about 5th grade to middle school is when I did a lot of my reading. I didn't really read much in high school, or like much beforehand that is on the shelf. So let's hop into it. So a big part of my reading as a child was Judy Blume. And it's this book and a book I have on my other shelf that I'm rereading this year. Just As Long as We're Together, Hey God, It's Me, Margaret, and then It's Not the End of the World. Those were like my 3 favorite books growing up, and they were all by the same author, and they dealt with friendship and family and things like that in school. And as much as I remember, there's not a lot of romance in them. I look at the back and yeah, there's like maybe a little bit, like some like, middle school crushes or like childhood crushes, but that's not the part of the book that I remember. And I remember the friendships and the time that they spend with their family, and that's the part of the books that I remember. It's not always the romance. So Judy Blume was a big thing that I read growing up. These next set of books, they're all by the same author, Margaret Peterson Haddix, one of my all-time favorite authors. She writes, I honestly don't know what genre most of her books are in. I just know that I enjoy them. So we have Running Out of Time, which is, I would technically consider it science fiction, but again, I don't remember any romance in this book. We have Double Identity, which is a fabulous book, which I also don't believe has any romance in it. We have Turnabout, another great book. No romance that I remember. Leaving Fishers, again, no romance. It deals with, friendships and other topics like that. Full Ride is one of her more contemporary novels, which I absolutely loved. And again, there is the whole like friendship issues and secrets of the past issue, but not a big romance that I remember. And again, I might be misremembering some of these, but it's just, it doesn't really appear in the books that I've read. And that's not to say that I don't read books with romance in them, because I definitely do. I am currently reading a lot of romance books, because a lot of the self-publishing community is very romance heavy. So I want to support these self-published authors, and I don't hate romance books at all. I adore them. I think some of them are amazing and they have great messages. But right now, for me, that's not what I want to write. There's so much romance already being put out into the world. And again, I'll get into this in a second. But right now, I feel like I need to put out books where the main plot isn't romance. I'm really enjoying that. I'm really enjoying writing about friendships and family and school and life in general. It's just, that's what I'm really enjoying writing right now. So these next two books I'm going to talk about real quick, they do have romance in them. And I don't think they're the main plot, but they do have romance in them. But it's not the reason I picked up the book. I picked them both up because they deal with real world issues. So Afterward deals with, the aftermath of what happens after a kidnapping, and after the two kids are rescued. It's not a romance because there isn't a happily ever after that I remember. I don't remember it ending happily, which is absolutely fine. Not all books need a happy ever after. Life most of the time doesn't have happily ever after. And then I'm Not Her, I got picked up because the sister is the one diagnosed with cancer. And a lot of the themes in my book deal with, real world topics. I was obsessed with learning about different cancers for a long time and writing them into my books. And a lot of my books deal with like real world topics because it helps me make sense of the world. So I write about things that I need to figure out for myself. So while these two books both had a little bit of romance in them, again, it's not like the main plot. So that's like the majority of what I read growing up. However, as you've noticed, there's your like Celeste. There's a lot of other books on this shelf that you haven't talked about. Or are those all the romance books that you're saying that you haven't read? No, those are all the romance books I'm saying that I have read. So The Future of Us, What Light, literally all the John Green books. The Giver Quartet, it has some romance in it, but it's not the main plot. We got Divergent and Insurgent. I'm really trying hard to stay in camera frame. Divergent and Insurgent. Lovely Bones, not a romance. It's not a romance. And then the latest book that is a romance technically is The Program, but it also deals with a lot of real world issues. I think I'm just gonna stay here for the rest of the video, film this in front of my bookshelf. Why not? So now that we've looked at, the books that I have read growing up, and I guess kind of talk about why I currently don't write romance, I definitely could. I have written young adult, new adult, not really sure which one it is. I have written a romance. It is clean, it is wholesome, there's not even kissing. Which apparently is very controversial. So why do I not write romance, and why is it valid to not write romance? I don't write romance. One, I've never experienced it. I feel like that's a good enough reason. Like, I don't want to write something that I know nothing about. That's a good enough reason, right? No? Okay, let's go on. Number two, a lot of my books that I'm currently writing and that I have ideas for deal with very heavy topics. And I don't want to accidentally romanticize something that should not be romanticized, such as, fighting cancer, grief, more death, abduction, kidnapping. That's one of the books. More cancer, mental health issues, more cancer. A lot of my books deal with cancer. Family issues, friendship issues. I don't want to accidentally romanticize something that shouldn't be romanticized. So I don't want to portray the message of everything will be fine if you find your partner and they're with you through it all. Like, I don't want to accidentally do that. Like, I don't want to accidentally, you know, make romance the thing that solves everything. Because it doesn't. Still not a good enough reason? All right, reason number 3 that I'm not currently writing books with the side plot of romance. I feel like I'm just repeating myself here, but like, it's just, not every book needs to have romance in it. You know, growing up, I think romance is something that is like heavily pushed on us as, you know, middle schoolers and high schoolers and like kids growing up. And you think, I need to be in a relationship. This is the normal thing to do. And while, yeah, it probably is the normal thing to do, and I'm probably the outlier for being 23 and single, being single my whole life. And you know, I'm actually very content in that right now. I'm absolutely a-okay with where I am in life. Like, I'm not actively looking for a relationship. And that's fine with me. Like, I am very content with where I am right now. And I love that. I am very at peace, which is so nice. But that being said, there's not a lot of books out there that I can easily find that don't have romance in them at all. And the reason that I write what I write is because I write what I want to read. And I want to read books without romance in them. I'm not even sorry that I'm not sorry. I'm just not sorry. I want to read books without romance in them. And it is so hard to find those. And maybe it's because I don't crush on people easily. Maybe it's because I don't know. I'm a hopeless romantic, yes. However, I also, like, I don't know, like, I don't crush on people easily, if that makes sense. So when I go to Amazon to look at books, or if I walk into Barnes and Noble and I'll start picking up books and looking at the synopsises, most of them right now it's romance, because romance is a huge genre right now, and that's fine. I love that. There was a time where dystopian was the huge genre, and that was like middle school for me. And, you know, that's okay. Things come and go. And if people need romance right now to get through life without romance, I guess, if that makes sense, that's fine. Read whatever you need to read. But right now, I need to read books without romance in them. So I'm writing them. When I wrote the first draft of Project Restart back in 2013, there was a love triangle in it. And since then, it has been taken out because, one, it adds nothing to the story. Like, it just didn't. It was just drama created for drama's sake. It didn't need to be there, so I took it out. So if I go to Amazon and I start looking for young adult contemporary books, most, if not all of them that show up on like the first 10 pages of Amazon are most likely romance books. And if they're not romance books, they have romance in them. And I want to change that. In the books that I want to read, friendship arcs, family arcs, life arcs, main character arcs, they can be so good. You can get that happily ever after ending with family. You can have a family that finds peace and knows how to function together. Or friendships, you can have a friend group that figures out how to work each other, make everyone feel included. You can have these happily ever afters, even if they're not romantic. Oh, okay, this video is turning out more rambly than I was expecting it to. Okay, what am I trying to say? It's not that I will stop reading a book if a romance appears. I will read basically anything. Like, I don't think there's a genre that I, like, just refuse to read, except for, like, you know, adult romance with a bunch of spice in it. I don't do that. Even, like, young adult romance with spice in it, hard no for me. Actually, it's pretty easy no. In this world where, like, hookup culture is a huge thing and dating culture is a thing, and as someone who's never really been into that type of thing, I want more books where, you know, characters are dealing with friendship issues or dealing with family issues or dealing with work issues. I want more of that. And, like, you can have a great story without romance in it. You can have a great story with romance in it. And I will be completely honest, I haven't read a lot of romance. Like, it is not the thing that I actively search out to read. I will support indie authors who publish romance books, and I will support them 100%. I have, like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9 books on my shelf right now in my other shelf because that's where all my indie books are. But I have like a ton of books in there that are like pure romance books. And I went into them not knowing what to expect, and I love reading them. And I can't read them back to back to back, but I do really enjoy them. But again, circling back to the point I'm trying to make. When I go to Amazon and I search up young adult contemporary books, I don't want the first thing to be romance. If I go to like young adult contemporary romance, that's fine. That'll be the first thing I want to see. But if I go to like young adult contemporary health or disability or family, I want the first thing to be about family or characters, not here's this romance story and here's how their romance helped them deal with this illness. That's not what I want. And again, I'm writing these books that I want to find. So I'm writing a book where my main character develops a very strong friendship with somebody that she meets while dealing with her illness. And do they eventually probably end up getting together like a year after the book ends? Yes. But it doesn't happen in the blink of an eye because, you know, likelihood is it's not going to happen in the blink of an eye. As it is around Valentine's Day, I know this is kind of different to all the typical normal romancy, lovey-dovey videos that are out there and content that's out there, but not everyone has a Valentine on Valentine's Day, and that's okay. So with all of this said, if I made any sense throughout this video, go watch Meredith Phillips' video as well, talking about why romance is a super valid genre and why she writes romance. I find it very amusing that her video was published today, and I was like, hey, I'm making basically the opposite video to this tomorrow. So please go watch her video. It is an amazing video, tons of valid points. I agree with everything she says. But for me, writing romance just isn't what I'm doing right now. Again, that's not to say I'm never gonna write romance because I do have quite a few plans for some romance books. But it's not what I'm currently working on. And maybe in 2 or 3 years, when I do start publishing those romance books, I will make a video about why I decided to start writing romance and, you know, the different books that led me to feel comfortable writing romance with heavier topics in them. So I guess be on the lookout for that in like 2023, 2024. But for now, I'm not writing romance, and that's okay. So I'm editing this video, and there's just so much I could say about this topic, and I just wanted to leave you guys with one more little thing. In the AuthorTube community, in the Instagram, Bookstagram, book community in general, there's 2 huge genres that people write in and that people read in, and those are fantasy and romance. And as someone who writes neither romance nor fantasy, it is very easy to feel alone even in this huge community. Like, I'm so grateful for this community and for the friendships and connections that I have made. However, it is still very easy. My hair is doing something weird. It is still very easy to feel alone because I'm a contemporary author who really doesn't write that much romance. And I just wanted to say, if there are any other of you guys out there who write, you know, fantasy without romance, or sci-fi without romance, or contemporary without romance, there are more of us. There are other people out there who don't put romance into every book they write. So I just wanted to quickly add on that you guys aren't alone, and, you know, if you know someone who does this, like, send them my way, because I will gladly talk about this forever. So yeah, I just wanted to add that little bit in there before I closed out the video. I have been filming for 40 minutes. Hopefully this video is not 40 minutes long. So I'm going to leave it here. Thank you guys all so much for sticking with me through this video. I don't know if I made my point clear enough. I feel like I did. I feel like I made it more clear in this video that I filmed today rather than the video that I filmed last year. So that's a good thing. But thank you guys all so much for watching this week's video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more content from me. And I will see you guys all hopefully next week. Bye! Friendly reminder, I am releasing the book cover and the book blurb for All the Way Strong, my debut contemporary novel with no romance in it. I am releasing the cover and the blurb for that on Wednesday, March 2nd. I'm going to check that date to make sure it is correct. Yes, Wednesday, March 2nd is when I will be announcing the book cover and the book blurb for All the Way Strong. I am so excited to share it with everybody. It has been so many years in the making, and I cannot wait for you guys all to read it. I'm so excited. I will leave you guys with this one last little bit of information. If you guys are like dead set against reading any books that don't have romance in them, you're like, I can't get into any books that don't have romance in them, please give it one more shot. Just one. Because, you know, friendship arcs, family arcs, character arcs, and plot can also be very satisfying to read. You might not know if you're gonna get that happily ever after, but you still get an amazing journey.